Right. So my name is Samantha Dolan. I am an account manager on Deputies America team. So I will be walking you through the reports available in Deputy today. These are the reports that we're going to go through. So we'll take a look at our contact tracing report, employee details, journal usage, leave management, schedule versus timesheet versus sales, as well as the custom report builder. And I will make sure to leave plenty of time at the end for questions. You can type questions as we go along in the webinar. And again, I'll make sure to leave enough time to address those questions at the end. And again, if you do have to drop off early and you're not able to stay for the Q&A session, that will be part of the recording that you receive. So your questions will all be answered. Right. So the first report we're going to take a look at is the contact tracing report. The reports in Deputy, when you log in, you'll go to the reports tab, and this will take you to the reports dashboard. We're going to start with the contact tracing report. This is a report that Deputy developed after the COVID-19 outbreak in order to help managers keep their employees safe. So we'll click on view full report here. If you do find that one of your employees has contracted coronavirus, you can select the date range here. Maybe it's the past week, 2 weeks, whatever that date range is that you want to look at. You'll run the report. And then down below, you'll be able to see all of the employees that this person has been in contact with, for whatever duration you choose. And then you can contact these individuals to let them know that, Damon has contracted COVID and they may want to go get tested just to be safe. And this is also a report. You can print it, you can export it as a CSV if you'd like as well, so you can keep that for your records. But again, this report is pretty straightforward. So you'll select the date range, select the employee, run the report. You can also filter it to the same location, same area that this employee is working in, and then that will change the results below. The next report we're going to take a look at is the employee details report. To look at is the employee details report. Now you'll notice here that it gives you a summary for the week. It'll let you know if there are birthdays coming up, when employees are coming up on their 6 months, any missing email addresses or phone numbers, and then you can click view full report here. And you can drill down, you can look at all locations. We'll just stick with the Mystic Grill. And then in the employee details report, you'll notice at the top here, there are different options. So the first one here is birthdays. It's going to show you everyone's birthday. If you wanted to just look at, maybe birthdays this month, maybe you do something for employees for their birthday, you can filter it to only those employees that have a birthday coming up. Otherwise, again, you can look at all birthdays. You can also very easily see who's missing that information. But again, this report is pretty straightforward. It'll just show you the birthdays for all of your employees for the selected location. Next is tenure. So if we select that, similar view to the birthdays, it's going to show you their start date and how long they've been working with the company. This is important oftentimes for wage increases or leave accruals, things like that. So if after a certain amount of time someone gets an increase in pay or maybe they accrue more leave, this report will very easily show you when they started and how long they've been working with the company. Next is the contact details. So here it's going to show you employees' email addresses, mobile emergency contacts. Down below, there are different options as well. You can look at all details. You can filter it to those who are missing an email or mobile, and those that are missing emergency contacts. So this portion just really helps you to make sure you have all of the appropriate data for employees in Deputy. And the last one is activity. This is going to show you when an employee's last timesheet was and the next shift that they have. This is important. Oftentimes managers will use this to determine, if they need to clean up their employee list at all. So for example, maybe someone forgot to archive an employee after they left the company. This will tell you when their last timesheet was, when their next shift is. So you'll be able to see if there's no shift coming up for someone. You'll notice here, there are also filters. You can look at everyone. And then you can also look at those with no activity. So those with no activity, those are going to be the ones that you may want to look into. Maybe they don't need to be in Deputy anymore. But again, this just helps you to clean up your data if needed. Right. The next report we're going to look at is the journal usage report. And this is the information that's coming directly from the timesheets. To take a look at the journal usage report. The journal entries come directly from timesheets. So when managers are approving timesheets, they do have the option to enter a journal entry at the bottom of that timesheet prior to approval. Sometimes managers will use these comments for, feedback for employees, take these comments into consideration for, wage increases, performance reviews, things like that. So if we go to view full report, you can select whatever date range you'd like. By default, it's going to be for a week. You can expand that to a month if you'd like, whatever date range you'd like to look at. And then it categorizes them by manager. So you'll be able to see which managers are utilizing the journal entries on employee timesheets, also by category. So there's positive, negative, and neutral. All of these staff that has journal entries on their timesheets. And then whichever you select here. So for example, if we wanted to look at positive, over on the right, it's going to show you all the journal entries that are positive. So you can see here that Bonnie stayed late to cover a shift. So one's categorized as positive. Negative, you can see Damon left early, got into an argument with Lena. So you can click specific employees, specific managers, and then whether they're positive or negative. So this is just an easy way to track those comments on timesheets for specific employees. If you wanted to give employees recognition, or maybe there's someone who has been in trouble recently. So you can always go back to this report to look at the comments on their timesheets. Next, we're going to take a look at the leave management report. The leave management report, this gives you an easy way to view the leave entitlements that employees have, as well as the leave approved and their remaining leave hours. So if we click on view full report here, you have the option to look at all locations or filter it down to a single location. We'll stick with Mystic Grill. So it's going to give you a list of all of your employees, as well as their leave balances, any approved leave that they have, and then the remaining leave hours. It'll also let you know if there is any leave that is awaiting your approval. So you can click from this screen to approve leave. You'll also notice at the top here, you can import leave balances. This takes you to the import data screen. And then from here, you can import leave balances in an Excel format. And it also gives you a sample file to view the format that it needs to be in. So it's just an easy way for you to import all of your balances, and then you'll be able to see them on this screen here. If you have more than one leave type, you can also select this dropdown, and then from here, you'll be able to look at those different types to see the different balances as well. And then of course, you can also export this as a CSV. And then if you click on leave settings here, it'll show you all of the different leave rules that you have. If you need to add a new leave type, you'd simply do that by clicking new leave condition at the top left here. And then down below, of course, it shows you all of the active leave rules in your instance of deputy. Right. Next, we're going to take a look at the schedule versus timesheet versus sales report. And one thing to note, if you're not using Deputy for your sales data, this report is still beneficial just to compare your schedule versus timesheet hours as well as the cost. Okay. At the schedule versus timesheet versus sales report, so this report is going to compare your scheduled hours versus the hours on timesheets. And then if you also have sales data in Deputy, you can compare your sales versus your wage costs. So on this screen here, it's going to show you the summary for the week. And then you can click into view full report here. And then from here, you can select the location. We'll stick with Mystic Grill. You can select the date range you'd like to look at. You can look at specific employees or all employees. And then down below, it's going to give you the comparison. So you can see here, it's broken down by the areas for this specific location. At the bottom, it gives you all of your totals. And then you'll see the scheduled hours versus the timesheet hours, any variances there. So you can see, for example, for this week, Bonnie was scheduled for 15 hours. She only ended up working 10.25 hours. And then it'll show you the variance there between those scheduled hours as well as the timesheet hours. Next, the cost. So if you're tracking your wages in Deputy, you'll be able to view the schedule cost for the hours and then the timesheet wages for those hours that were actually worked. And then same as the hours, it's going to show you the variance in the cost from the schedule versus timesheet. And then again, at the bottom, it'll show you your grand totals for the selected date range for both the hours as well as the cost. All right. Lastly, we're going to take a look at the custom report builder. Now we're going to take a look at the report builder. So if there are any reports that you'd like that are not out of the box in Deputy, you do have the option to create your own reports. You'll see under the report builder any of the saved reports that you've created. And then to add a new report, you'll simply click on Create New Report here at the bottom. You'll select a pre-built report to start. So let's say I want a report around my timesheet details. So I'm going to go ahead and select timesheet. load the template, and then it'll take you to the report. It'll show you the primary data source that you've selected. So again, I've selected timesheet, and then it has fields by default. So it's going to show you, employee names, the dates of timesheet, start times, end times, total hours. There are all kinds of additional fields you can add as well. So if we just look under timesheets, let's say maybe I want to track the timesheet costs. Maybe I want to know if there are any validation flags. So, if there are any irregularities on the timesheets, this validation flag will let me know. Maybe I also want to know if this timesheet has been approved. And even though we did select timesheet, you'll notice that there are all of these additional options, so you can add more fields. So let's say as part of this report, I want to know which location all of these timesheets are for. So if we click under employee location, we'll select location name. And then now you'll notice there's that column with the location names. Now, when you're building reports, you also have the option to, add calculations, add filters, group reports. So first we'll add a filter. So let's say I want to filter on the location. So we'll select location name, contains, and we'll stick to the Mystic Grill example that we've used on the other reports. So I'll save that filter. Now you'll notice that it's only the timesheets for the Mystic Grill. Also, maybe you want to group this report. So if you click on configuration here at the top left, again, there's another way to add filters. And then there's also this group by selection. So let's say I want to group by employee name. Okay. If we save that, now you'll be able to see all of the timesheets for this location grouped by employee. And you'll notice that it also gives you a sum when you group the reports. So for Elena here, it's going to show you the timesheet hours as well as her total timesheet cost in this totals view for you. Okay. Now, if you'd like to save the report, you'll simply click Save at the top. We'll just call this time sheet test. And then you also have the option to save this only for yourself or all reporting users. So if this is a report that maybe other managers at this location would like to look at, you may want to select all reporting users. That way, when they go into the reports tab, they'll be able to click on this report as well. So then you'll just simply click Save. And then it'll save your custom report for you so that you don't have to rebuild that report each time you log in. All right, so then you'll notice here the timesheet test report. Okay. All right, so now it's time for the Q&A session. Let me stop sharing just so I can view those questions. Will you email out the PowerPoint you used today? Yes, so this webinar was recorded, so you'll be receiving the recording of the webinar. The next question, are these comments seen by the employees? So I'm guessing this is for the journal usage report. No, these are not visible to employees. So I will actually I'll go in and show you 1 second. Get out of the presentation. So for the, let me share my screen again. So in the journal usage report, no, those comments cannot be seen by employees. So if we go back into that report, these are comments that are left on the timesheets after the employee has already worked the shift prior to the approval. So if we just go to one of the timesheets that has let me go to so on the timesheets, so if we just unapprove this one, for example, this is where you'll leave the employee journal. You can select the category. So as I showed you, there's the positive, negative, and then submit that journal. But no, this is not a field that is visible to the employee. Only the managers are going to be able to see that, that comment. Okay. All right. Are journal entries only to be entered by managers, or can any employee? So the actual journal entry, those are only entered by managers. Let me go ahead and share my screen again. So there is also a field where employees can leave comments when they clock out of a shift. And if they do that, you're going to see those comments here where it says timesheet comments. So that's where the employee comments will be. So the journal field is separate from the employee comments. Okay. How do you input sales data into Deputy? So that's going to be through the schedule tab. So if we go to schedule, you'll see all of the stats here at the top. And then you can go to the business insights. And then here is where you're going to be able to input that data. There's also a guide. So if you haven't used this feature before, there's a guide that walks you through it. And then if you go to our help page as well, there are additional guides that'll walk you through all of the new business insights features. But again, this is where you can go to enter that data. Okay. Okay. What is the purpose of the comment section in the timesheets if comments can be put in the journal? So the comments section on the timesheets, that's where employees are going to enter their comments versus the journal, which is where the managers enter in their comments. Can I export the timesheet with the start and end break time? Yes. So if we go back to the report builder, we'll just go to that timesheets test that I used, edit the report. And then you'll notice under the timesheets field, there are all of the breaks. So you can have the scheduled, duration. So you can add those additional fields for the breaks. But if you're actually looking for that in an export, if you go to the export timesheets tab, which I think this is more what you're looking for with the specific start and end times, when you go to export your timesheets, there's this CSV Excel all fields. So that will include all of the fields from the timesheets. So that'll have that specific start and end time that you're looking for. Okay. Will there be a webinar specifically for leave management? Yes. So there will be, I believe that's actually the January webinar. And then there are also some that are pre-recorded. So if you go to the same help portal in Deputy, go to the help site. If you just search for leave, there are all these additional help articles as well that walk you through the leave. But yes, there is going to be a webinar next month specifically for leave. Okay. Is there no way to import a date range on the timesheet report? Yes, you can. So if we go back to the report that I created, go to the timesheets. So if you wanted a specific date range, the same way that I showed you the location filter, you just add another filter. So at the bottom, you'll just click and then you would select the timesheet date and then select, you can select this week, last 2 weeks, or you can do a custom and select a specific date. So let's just pick December, save, and then it'll update the report with that additional filter. Okay. Can you edit reports or different types of leave that are no longer needed? Yes, you can. So if there's let's go to the leave report. So for the leave, if you click leave settings here, for you to be able to delete the leave types, it cannot be assigned to any employee. So if there are any, which let me see if there are any, inactive ones in here that I can show you. Looks like they're all, okay. So if you have a leave rule that is no longer assigned to employees, you'll see the red X next to it, and that means that you can delete that leave rule. So we'll just do delete, and then are you sure you want to delete this record? So yes, you can delete those leave rules that are no longer needed. Okay. All right, can you make a report to only see employees from one shift? So if we go back to custom report I made, I'll get rid of this filter for a second, just so we have more data. Yes, so if you wanted a specific shift, you would probably add a filter for both the timesheet date. So, if there's a specific date, so we'll just do, maybe it's December 1st. And then you can also filter it by the start time and the end time. So if you're looking for a specific shift, you would just need to add filters for both the date and then as well as the specific start and end times you're looking for that specific shift. Okay. And then, yes, you can export this report either to a PDF or a CSV file. Can you resort or move the columns in the reports? Yes. So if you wanted these in a different order, you can remove any that you don't want anymore. You can rearrange them. So yes, you can change any of these columns and put them in whatever order you'd like. All right, can you add the manager comments from timesheets to a timesheet report? I believe it's only the comments from the employee. So it's only the employee comment that's available from the specific timesheet field. But you can export the journal usage report if you wanted a report specifically of those journals. Right. Okay. Okay. When can we expect the recording to be emailed? It should be emailed, I would think, either by the end of this week or early next week at the latest. But you'll receive the recording since you did register for the webinar. Can you set different levels of access so that entries can be seen by some managers, but not all? So yes, you can. If we go to yes, so only the managers that manage those specific group of employees for that location will be able to see and enter those journal entries. So if they're not managing a specific group of employees, they won't be able to see the comments for the employees that they don't manage. Will the January webinar include building separate leave accrual profiles? Yes. So we'll go through the leave rules setup as well as the leave accrual setup. So yes, that will all be included on the webinar. Can you build a report that compares different areas? So yes, if we'll go back to this. So the area, that's another field that you can add. So if we wanted to add the area name, that's something that you can group by as well. If you wanted to look at, the schedules or timesheets, whatever it is, by area, once you add that field, you can then group by that area name. So yes, that's something you can do. When
can we expect the recording to be emailed? So it'll either be later this week or early next week. Okay, and this question, can manager contact info be shown for each employee when they open deputy? I'm looking, so in the reports specifically, there's not a field to add the managers, but you can look at it by either the specific areas as well as the locations, so you can group them that way. Next question, can you explain the add calculation field on the custom reports? Yes, so we'll add calculation. So you can choose from the pre-built calculation fields. So if we select a column, I think one of the other questions was late arrival. So that's one of the ones that's actually pre-built. And then it's just similar to an Excel formula. So specifically for the late arrivals, it's going to let you know if the start time doesn't match up with the schedule time. So if we save there. And then in this column here, it'll have the late arrivals and it'll let you know. So it says true or false. So you can see, these were not late. These were late. And then if you only wanted to look at those that were late, you could also filter by that. So if we go back to the filters tab, you can go to late arrival, and then you could just go equals yes, and then click save. And then it's only going to show you those, oops, sorry about that. Let's go back in there. And then it'll only show you those that are true for late. And then it'll show you the times. If you're looking for the late arrivals, it may also be helpful to add, as well as the start sheet, the timesheet start time. You can also add the schedule start time. So that's helpful, so you can compare the schedule to the actual timesheet. If someone clocks out after their shift, okay, so if they clock out late, yeah, so the best way to easily look at those variances is probably through that schedule versus timesheet one. So let's go back in there. So in this, it's going to let you know if there are any variances between the schedules and the timesheets. And so by default, it shows you a week, but you can look at a specific day. So if we only wanted to look at, actually, let's make sure there are shifts that day. So you can look for a specific day. If you wanted to look at it that way. So now we're only looking at December 7th. So here on this specific day, you're able to see if there's any variance between the scheduled hours as well as the timesheet hours. And then from this report, you can actually click, and then you can go and look at, Bonnie's timesheets to see, why there are those discrepancies. Okay. All right. It doesn't look like there are any other questions. Again, the recording will be sent out along with the Q&A, and you'll receive the recording of the Q&A as well as the typed out answers. So that will be emailed to you within the next few days, maybe early next week, but you will receive that recording along with all of the Q&A. Right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.